What's up, guys? This is Chris here, and today we're going to be going over an affordable 2011 pistol. Today we're going to be talking about the Mach 9 DSD Comp. Now, we did a first shots on this pistol about 6 months ago, and it was pretty popular, and I understand why. It's a 2011 with tons of features for a very low price, which we'll get into here in a minute. But how did it fare over time? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Before we do that, though, I do want to mention my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys very much. It's because of you guys that we have guns and ammo and cool stuff on the channel, and I did pick this up with a Patreon dollar. So if you want to support the channel, just go down the link in the description below and sign up. It helps keep us the most honest gun content on the internet, and we really appreciate you. Also in that description is a link to a local shelter. It's a youth shelter named Iowa, so please go down there and donate to those kids. Now, this is one of those guns where I didn't anticipate picking this up. I like to go to the gun store just to see what happens, just to let the gun store tell me what I need. And I went over to Battle Hawk up there in Grimes, Iowa. I get to go over there and just roam free, and I came out with this guy. It looks like a Staccato XC if you're real far away. This is a double stack 1911 technically. However, it does have a steel slide, a steel frame, and then a polymer grip. This gun comes with an optics mounting plate, which we'll get to here in a minute. Comes with raised sights, which is pretty cool. It has a single port comp milled right through the slide into the barrel. It has a 5-inch bull barrel on the gun, which is of decent quality, believe it or not. We have lightning cuts in the slide. We have a full rail on the bottom of the gun, which is great. We have a flat face trigger, of which multiple different variations come in the box, so if you want to change it out to a longer one, you can. We have an undercut underneath the trigger, and we have some pretty decent texture on the front and back strap. We have some decent texture on the side. I guess this is meant sort of for carry, but for a gun like this, I would recommend just texturing the whole thing. That being said, gun companies have a real problem with texture for some reason, so we'll let that slide. We have the biggest grip safety you've ever seen in your life. Look how big that pad is. Now, I actually really appreciate that because that is one of the issues I have with a 2011. We have a combat hammer, and then we have ambi controls, which is actually really good for the money, including an extended magazine release. The gun comes with 2 magazines, of which I have both lost, which is insane, but I have. It does come with 2 magazines, which appear to be Checkmate mags, which is pretty good. They're not bad magazines, and they say TSAS on them. That being said, we tested this with a ton of 2011 mags. I have a whole bunch of 2011 mags in which we tested this gun with. Staccato mags and Atlas mags were the primary mags, but we also use Terran, we use Checkmate, and we obviously use the factory mags until I lost them. Now, this is a Series 70 gun, so you are going to be trading a little bit of drop safety for a little better trigger, which we'll also get to here in a minute. I purchased this gun for $980, and that is one hell of a steal if you know anything about the 2011 market. The 2011 market is probably the most expensive of any of the pistol variants, except for maybe the weird ones like the Alien and shit like that. And in all fairness, 2011s are even more expensive than that in some cases. Now, the 2011 is not like any other gun, as I mentioned. You have to get into it knowing that as well. They're usually better off if they are made by custom manufacturers. However, there are good regular machine-made 2011s these days, but they do start out at about $1,500 to $2,000 for a reliable version. We've had several affordable 2011s on the channel. One that was okay was the Apollo, and one that was not okay was the Gerson. If you're playing around in the $1,000 range, you are taking a risk, sort of like Russian roulette with your cash. That being said, this one performed pretty decent, I will be honest, especially for that $980. The first thing that you get for your money is you get all the features that I mentioned before. A lot of those features you will not get on affordable 2011s traditionally. So they packed a lot of features into the gun. But what they also did was pack in, at least from what their website says, fully machined parts, so they don't use any cheap parts inside the gun. Now, to my knowledge, now this is my limited knowledge, but these are imported into the United States from Turkey and then upgraded slightly before they are released to the public. So that is why maybe this one functions a little bit better than some of the other Turk 11s, I guess, that you'd want to call, that we've had on the channel. And it actually did. We shot 1,000 rounds through this gun. We shot 124 grain and 115 grain. We had 6 different malfunctions in that 1,000 rounds. However, the vast majority of those were my low-powered competition loads that I use in most of my 2011s, including my Terrans and my Atlases, and they function flawlessly in those, but this gun did not like those. Doesn't like my
remanufactured ammo, I'll tell you that much.
Also, in that 6 malfunctions, we had a pretty wide variety of different types of malfunctions. Some of them were related to ammunition. Some of them were, it appeared at least, ejection related. Now, 6 malfunctions inside 1,000 rounds is not good for a striker fired gun, but for an affordable 2011, that actually isn't all that bad. That's like 4 times better than the Gerson. Now, with that kind of reliability, I would probably relegate this pretty immediately to a range toy / fun gun. This is not a gun I would recommend for self-defense. That's not saying that it's not a good gun to buy. There are lots of other uses for a gun like this rather than just a self-defense or home defense pistol. For starters, it makes a pretty phenomenal range pistol, especially for the price. Getting past reliability and accuracy, the gun was actually pretty accurate. The mechanical accuracy of the gun, anyway, is pretty accurate. First off, the barrel is decent. The comp is done extremely well. It has decent sights out of the factory, and the trigger is a 2011 trigger. Sometimes when you buy a budget 2011, you get a Glock trigger. This thing actually feels like a 2011 trigger. It's a little bit heavier than something like a Staccato XC at around 4.5 pounds, but the trigger still breaks really crisp. It has a very short travel to the break, so there's very little to fuck up. And then the reset is actually really impressive, which gives you about the same rate of fire as a $4,000 or $5,000 Staccato XC. The trigger itself also is a flat face trigger. It feels actually pretty good, and the brake is solid, as I mentioned before. It is a little sluggish on the start of the trigger, but the reset is super positive, and it feels really good under rapid fire. Where accuracy is hindered quite a bit is going to be the optics mounting plate. The gun runs an AOS system. Maybe that's done by Agency Arms, and it also is done by several other manufacturers as well. When we got this gun out, we actually had, the first issue we had with the gun was the plate system.
So already our optic has come loose only after about 250 rounds. It was Loctited, it was torqued to spec, and it's loose as shit.
All right, one screw in the red dot. We lost one.
They sent 2 different sets of screws in the box with the gun. Neither one of them worked for any optic that I tried. The short screws were too short and the long screws were too long. So during the first shots, we had an SRO on there, and the SRO continued to lose 0 and the screws continued to fall out. We got new screws for the gun, and we mounted a RMR HD, and that actually has a slightly lower mounting profile, I think, than the SRO. And once we got an optic that worked well, the accuracy was very, very impressive. We were able to hit shots at 60, 75 yards with no issues. Now, as far as speed goes, the speed of the gun was really, really impressive. The rate of fire that you can get out of the gun is very similar to something like a Sand Viper or a Sand Hawk, but you're not going to get the reliability or potentially the long-term durability of those guns, and you're definitely not going to get the cool factor. But speed, we got, baby. Now, that's due to A, the trigger reset, as I mentioned before, but B, the compensator. This is a cut compensator through the slide and through the barrel, not something like a sight block like the Sandhawk. The reason for that is because this is extremely affordable. The reason why the Sandhawk does it is because this one doesn't work as well as this sight block that the Sandhawk uses. Number one, you get more compensation with those compensators, and number two, you also get a weight on the end of the gun that helps keep the gun from muzzle flipping. Now, those guns do have slightly better recoil control, but it is at the cost of an extra $5,000. You literally buy 5 of these for one Sandhawk. So the compensator for the $980 price point is very, very good and very similar to what you would see on striker fired guns. Usually striker fired guns that do a single port comp, like maybe the Smith & Wesson carry comp, they just cut it right through the barrel and slide, because again, it is more affordable and it's close enough. So speed on the gun was really impressive, and I would say that is probably its finest achievement. That being said, that if you do compare it head to head with even stuff like the Springfield Prodigy or especially the Sand Viper, you are going to find that even though this is fast for a striker fired gun, it's not quite as fast as those 2011s. Again, partly because I mentioned the compensator, but the second thing that slows it down a little bit is going to be the lack of texture on the grip. The grip texture is okay, but something on like a Sand Viper or an Erebus, you're going to get the best texture in the world, and it's really going to lock in your hand and it's going to feel great. Whereas if you are sweaty, this is going to slip around your hand a little bit.
My hands are so wet, I can't like grab my hand.
Just squeeze
it just
grip is rough
slides off.
It's like,
now, the last thing that kind of affects the recoil impulse a little bit is going to be the recoil spring. The recoil spring in this gun, in my opinion, is a little bit too heavy. I think it should be a little bit lighter, and it makes the gun feel a little clunky when you're shooting it.
I feel like it's a little jumpy for how heavy it is.
But only if you're an expert shooter. If you're a novice or a medium level shooter, you're probably not going to notice that. Now, the last thing as far as the slide reciprocating, you might not want to use a standard 2011 grip when you are reloading. Like, a lot of people reload striker fire guns that come from the back, if you are reloading a 2011, a lot of times you hit the magazine into the mag well, then you come over the top, do the pinch method, and use that. I would not recommend that because the cuts in the slide that are meant to lighten the slide are so big that your fingers can go right through there and touch the barrel. I did it a bunch of times. Some of the other cons to the gun as far as ergonomics go are, number one, it feels a little cheap. You can tell the controls are a little bit cheap. They say on their website that all the parts are machined, and they're machined to higher quality than a lot of the other Turkish guns. I've seen people say that in forums as well. However, I don't know if I believe that. We have a little bit better reliability on this gun, but the parts still in fact do feel cheap. There's flex in the safety, there's flex in the slide release, and the magazine release is very sticky, even still after 1,000 rounds.
Oh. Awful. Oh my God, that's so hard.
The magazine release?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
The coating is also a coating you would expect on a $1,000 gun. It didn't wear quite as much as I anticipated. However, it is definitely wearing more than something like a Staccato or even a Springfield Prodigy.
That looks like a Wish.com XC though.
Yes, it does.
I mean, when you pick that up, you don't think that's a $4,000 gun. Like, I mean, it looks cheap.
Now, Nick from PewView and I actually did shoot this head-to-head with some custom 2011s, and we shot this against the Prodigy. And I would argue that this gun has some benefits over the Prodigy, and the Prodigy has some benefits over this gun if you're looking at both. First off, this gun comes with more features out of the box than the standard Prodigy, and it is more affordable. However, the Prodigy did seem to be slightly faster in repeat fire, and it did seem to be more accurate slightly at long distance. So if you're comparing this to either a $1,500 Prodigy or if you're looking at the $1,000 Mac 9, just know that you're going to get a hair more performance out of the Prodigy, but whether it's $500 more is up to you. Overall, this is probably the best Turkish 2011 that we've had on the channel. Personally, I actually really liked it. Now, I know I hit on some stuff, but I just want to be out there and be honest about my experience with this, but then still end this with saying it's a $900 2011, and that for that price, this is probably the best you can expect, to be honest with you. At least from all the different comparisons that I've seen. I like the Apollo. The Apollo was a little more reliable than this, but this has a lot more features than the Apollo out of the box compared to the Gerson and maybe some of the other guns in this price point. Other than the TSOS Night Stalker, this is probably the best 2011 on the market today for under $1,000. And if you're interested in a solid range toy, something to go out and have fun with on the range, and you want to shoot quick, you want to shoot long distance, but you don't really care about 100% reliability because you're not going to go to a big major match and you're not going to use it for home defense or carry the gun, well, I think it's actually a really good option. I mean, it's a better option than the Prodigy.
I like this one better. Really? I think I like this one better.
The Mac 9?
Yeah.
I think I do too.
I mean, A, it kind of looks better, it has more features, and B, $500 less. And if you're going to buy an unreliable gun, might as well be cheaper. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please support your Oklahoma shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later. I'll check you later. You got to be in your hair. I'm not even playing games. Oh, there it goes.